Well, all signs and all roads are leading towards an early election. It really seems like an election is going to be called at some point this week or even potentially next week. But most importantly, before they go and sit in the House of Commons, it's just going to look so weird and distasteful for everybody to go and resume sitting in the House. And Mark Carney's stuck outside, kind of twiddling his thumbs, going, Hey, is it good in here? I'm watching this on House of Canada. It doesn't look like we're doing a very good job. Well, Pierre Poilievre is breaking his silence on quite a few things, and he's got a powerful message in today's press conference, and that's what we're going to be taking a look at. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video, everybody. Before we get into it, I do want to encourage you all to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet already. It does really help grow the channel. And because we're heading into a new era, out with Trudeau. I did not see that coming. And in with Trudeau 2.0. I've got some new stickers for y'all. You can find the link down below in the description or the pinned comment below. But let's walk you through some of these. You've got Carney, who's part of a circus. That makes sense. You've got Sir Mark Carney, not my PM. You have Canada is not for sale. Then you also have a proud Canadian flag that says Canada Strong. Canada first. That's gonna be the best one. I think personally, this one is gonna be fan favorites. Then you got oil for sale. Look at that, a beautiful oil drum. I will fix this. Perfect to put on gas stations, right? We had Trudeau who did I did that. Pierre, now you can buy it and you can say I'll fix this. Phenomenal. Then Trudeau 2.0. That one's pretty decent too. So you can find the link for that down below in the description or the pinned comment below. And by the time you are watching this, there will likely be already put together some sticker packs. So if you don't want to buy them individually and you want to buy large packs, well, that will be an option. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Here you go, Pierre. Come on, boy. The election's right around the corner. Let's see what you got.
I know that this is a very difficult and stressful time. Some of you have already got layoff notices. Others are worried you might face them in the future. You're scared, you're stressed, you don't know what's going to happen. I want you to know that Canadians are with you. We will fight for your jobs, and we will make sure the supports are there in the event of layoff. We'll make sure that EI provides payment promptly to help you keep food on the table, and we will work to get you back into a paycheck as soon as possible. And I once again say to Donald Trump, why would you go after these people? These are great Canadian people. American workers, just like them, are going to lose jobs if this continuing trade war insanity goes on. There is no good reason to do this to these good people. Stop the tariffs, stop the chaos, let's solve this problem, and that will mean that workers on both sides of the border can get their lives back, and both the nations could be stronger, safer, and more secure. We will always be a sovereign, independent nation. We will never be the 51st state. We will always be proudly Canadian, and we will fight for the Canadian promise. I go further to say that that Canadian promise has always been the reason for my political career. We want this to be a country where hard work means anyone from anywhere can achieve anything. That a hardworking person gets a great life on a safe street and a beautiful house.
Pause. I do need to congratulate Pierre Poilievre for not playing dress up on this one the way Mark Carney did. Mark Carney stood there with a hard hat on, with Karina Gould wearing a hard hat, with Chrystia Freeland wearing a hard hat, Dominic LeBlanc, whatever, right? The whole band of them were wearing hard hats. It's just weird. I get that that's maybe how politics used to be, so the average person could just turn on the television. Why did I say that? Gross. Turn on the television and just be like, oh yeah, look, he's obviously at a plant because the person speaking is wearing a hard hat. But why do that anymore? Why play dress up? Right? Just wear your suit and tie and go talk. Like that's it. He took his tie off, top button undone. Perfect. That's all you need. Messaging is also very good. He's right on point.
Under our proud flag. That promise is broken after 10 years of the Trudeau-Carney Liberals. The lost Liberal decade has seen, over the last 7 years, $500 billion of investment leave our country for the U.S. Our per capita GDP has been the worst growth among all of our competitors. Housing costs have doubled and gone up faster than in any other G7 country. And now the Liberals think they should be rewarded with a fourth term in office. Furthermore, they brought in a carbon tax in this law. This law is still in place, even though Mr. Carney has signed a fake executive order to hide the tax for 35 or 40 days leading up to the election. It is still in place, and it applies across the board. The tax is scheduled to go up 300% over the next 5 years, and hiding it for a few weeks will not change that. Furthermore, the full carbon tax also applies to industries like those here at Iveco. Iveco makes hot-rolled steel wire and steel billets, and these taxes drive up the cost of the entire domestic steel industry. Mr. Carney has said that he wants to expand the industrial carbon tax beyond the already eye-watering increases the government has passed into law. He specifically singled out steel in an interview he did on CTV. He said that Canadians don't buy steel, they don't need steel, and therefore it won't do any harm to tax steel. Although he did admit that the tax would drive up the cost of an automobile by just $200. I don't think anybody believes that. Remember when the Liberals told us that the earlier carbon tax wouldn't cost you anything? We learned later that that was not true. Carney's proposed shadow carbon tax will be bigger than Trudeau's carbon tax. And it's ultimately a trick. Hide the tax before the election and then bring it back bigger than ever after the election. This was a bad idea before the Trump tariffs. But now that Trump is hitting Canadian industry with a massive tariff, Carney is saying that he will impose a massive carbon tax on Canadian businesses. The combination of Trump's tariffs and Carney's carbon taxes would be a disaster for the workers behind me. Workers would lose wages, consumers would pay more. Money and jobs would leave Canada, making us even more dependent on the Americans, just like Trump wants. It reminds us of Carney's decision to move his headquarters out of Canada to the U.S. This new tax would apply to lumber mills, steel mills, factories, aluminum plants, and they would in many cases simply leave. But I won't let that happen. Today I am announcing that a common-sense, Canada First Conservative government will repeal the entire carbon tax, including the federal backstop that requires provinces impose industrial taxes. There will be no taxes on consumers, no taxes on Canadian industries. Instead, provinces will continue to have the freedom to address this issue how they like, but there will be no federal obligation to impose the tax. We will also axe the tax on steel, aluminum, natural gas, food production, concrete, and other industries.
Wow.
Instead of taxes, we will use technology. Technology, not taxes, is the best way to fight climate change and protect our environment. While the Liberals tax businesses who use energy, Conservatives will cut taxes and boost incentives for those who bring down emissions. Carrot, not stick. We will
Honestly, the more taxes Pierre wants to cut at this point, the more votes he's going to get. Everybody is feeling the pinch, the cost of living. I would love to see him propose something along the lines of no taxes for people that make under $150,000 a year, or something of the sorts that the Republican Party, the Trump administration had kind of talked about, or someone in America mentioned it. I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but if we do something like that here in Canada, man, that's your ticket, Pierre. That's your ticket. No taxes or super low taxes on hardworking Canadians. Not that super rich people aren't hardworking, but reducing taxes, man, is people are freaking broke in this country. Of course we want to have cheaper living. And if you can't manually bring the cost down, you have to do something else, and that's going to be taxes, right?
Expand eligibility for the clean technology and clean manufacturing investment tax credits. We will reward heavy industries who make products with lower emissions than the world average. For example, Canada's industry produces 2 tons of greenhouse gases for every 1 ton of aluminum. China produces 12 tons of emissions for every 1 ton of aluminum, 6 times more. So every time you bring production from China back to Canada, you actually reduce emissions on a global scale. And I see there's some pigeons up there giving me a round of applause or something, flapping their wings, but a little bit distracting, but still no less. If you don't laugh, you cry in this world. Cutting taxes on clean production will bring jobs and production home and bring global emissions down. We will do this to restore our industrial base and take back control of our economy from the Americans. It'll be part of my Bring It Home tax cut on work, investment, energy, and home building. This plan will lower income tax, investment tax. We will axe the sales tax on new homes to save you up to $50,000 on the purchase of a new house.
That's good. That's good.
Taxes to unleash massive booms in our different sectors to bring home paychecks and productions. Our mines, factories, mills will be buzzing with work for our welders, carpenters, pipe fitters, heavy machinery operators, assembly line workers, sheet metal workers. They will be making more by making more. We will be a strong, self-reliant, and sovereign nation standing on our own feet and standing up to the Americans. We will reward work, unleash entrepreneurs, harvest resources, make our own goods, trade with each other, build homes for our youth, rebuild our borders and military, honor our history, and raise our flag. What binds us together is the Canadian promise that anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, that hard work gets you a great life in a beautiful home, on a safe street, protected by solid borders and brave troops under a proud flag. What we must do now is to preserve that flag and its promise by working together, fighting together, and winning together. That is what it means to put Canada first. Let's bring it home. Thank you.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Seems like he's getting back into it.
We'll now take questions from the floor. Please indicate your name and your outlet.
My name is James Morgan. I'm from the Review newspaper nearby here in Vankleek Hill. I know many of the people standing behind you, sir, may even live in this community and read our paper. But anyway, I appreciate your commitment and your statements on economic sovereignty and approaching this tariff situation from that. Do you have any ideas, though, on cultural sovereignty to strengthen that, to complement the ideas on economics? I'm thinking of things like continued support for local journalism or local broadcasting.
Yes, we are strong supporters of local journalism and local media, and we will make sure that, for example, local media, independent outlets get their fair share of government advertising. I also think we need a renewed commitment to celebrating our heritage and our identity. Over the last 10 years, there's been a tendency to tear down our statues, change the names of different public monuments in order to cancel our history. I think that has weakened the bonds that used to tie us together. I believe that we should celebrate our history. We should honor our first Prime Minister, John A. Macdonald, without whom we would not have a Canada today. His vision of an East-West nation is really now more than ever needed. So we will be naming public monuments after him and many of our other historical figures. We will put a renewed focus on celebrating the military history, the extremely proud military history that we have over a century of defending freedom at home and around the world. We will ensure that our young people have chances to participate in that history by expanding, for example, the Cadet Corps and other programs that bring our people together from coast to coast to coast to coast. We now more than ever, we have to celebrate our proud heritage and our common Canadian identity. That's what unites us. Let's bring it home.
That's pretty good.
Next question.
This is Joe Coppolino from the Tribune Express Carignan, a local paper here. Following up on James's question, you've said that you want to get rid of the local journalism initiative, which is super important for our paper ourselves, particularly in this region where we are a bilingual paper, one of the few in the country and in the province and in the country. That program basically keeps us alive, particularly as businesses in this area begin to struggle, and I expect that they're going to struggle more in the coming years, regardless of which government comes on, given the economic opportunity outset landscape. What ways will a government support local journalism outside of the Local Journalism Initiative program, which helps fund many of the journalists in this area?
Thank you. Well, I have raised concerns with how the government has run that program and other media support programs. My platform will have measures that will strengthen local and independent journalism and give actually better and stronger voices to local journalism than we even have right now. So you'll have to stay tuned for that platform. We're just getting started. There's another roughly 6 weeks, and you'll be seeing a lot more from me, and I think you'll like what you have to see about local journalism.
In English, please.
So there were two parts to the question. One is about the Prime Minister holding meetings with leaders in Europe. Obviously, Prime Ministers have to meet foreign leaders in France, the United Kingdom, and all over the world. But meetings alone will not diversify our trade. We have a decade of nonstop international meetings, yet the share of our trade that goes, our exports that go to France and the UK has not budged. Why? Because we cannot get our products over the Atlantic. The Trudeau Carney Liberals have blocked pipelines, LNG plants, mines, and other infrastructure that is needed to get our products over the Atlantic to the Europeans. I give you
And this is going to be this is going to be a huge issue because Mark Carney prioritizes relations with Europe over anywhere else. Mark Carney is his first vacation or his first tour as this illegitimate prime minister, the selected prime minister of Canada, is going to Europe to discuss trade deals. So in a few days, he's likely to announce this newfound oil and gas trade deal that we have with Europe, is what I'm guessing Mark Carney's going to try to do. And then he's going to use emergency powers to expedite any pipelines and any infrastructure building that needs to be done in order to actually be able to ship them a lot of oil and gas. And so it's just weird, man. It's just weird. Like they've poached every single thing that Pierre Poilievre has brought forward. And the Liberals are going bananas over it. Yay, such a great idea. Thanks for reducing the consumer carbon tax to zero. It's like, that's what Pierre's literally acts of taxes right here, right? It's just so freaking weird.
the example of France. France signed a natural gas supply agreement with Qatar. We could be selling that gas. We have 1,300 trillion cubic feet of natural gas right beneath our feet. We have cold weather, as you're experiencing today, which makes it cheaper to liquefy the gas. We have clean hydroelectricity to power that liquefaction. The steel from places like this could go in an LNG plant, or in, I should say, dozens of LNG plants right across the East Coast and the West Coast and the Saguenay region. So why don't we repeal C-69, the No New Pipelines law, rapidly approve LNG plants, pipelines, mines, port expansions, so that we don't have to sell 100% of our natural gas exports to the Americans. I would have liked to seen Mr. Carney come home with a natural gas supply agreement signed with the French, the way the Qataris have done. We know they need our gas. Japan, Greece, Germany.
That might bite Pierre in the ass. That actually could become true, where Carney does do a deal with France. It's so frustrating because we don't want Carney to be the one doing it.
France and other countries, Ukraine, have all asked for our natural gas. But the radical net zero, keep it in the ground ideology that has guided the Carney-Trudeau Liberals for 10 years and caused the lost decade has prevented us from doing it. After a lost decade, we don't need to give the Liberals a fourth term. What we need is a real change to bring home paychecks and production and put Canada first.
This will be the last question.
Good morning, Mr. Poilievre. This is Kate McKenna from CBC News. Are you prepared to commit Canada to any kind of emissions target if you become Prime Minister? And if so, what would that look like?
We have to focus on technology and not taxes. First and foremost, we have to take back control of our economy. What would my emissions target look like? I treat this as a global problem. By bringing home production from more polluting foreign jurisdictions, we reduce global emissions while growing our own paychecks. I don't think it is an achievement to shut down a Canadian steel mill and then see one open up in China that produces 10 or 20 times more emissions for each unit of steel. We need to do is acknowledge that the best way to reduce emissions is to bring home clean production here. For example, National Bank has calculated that we could displace 2.5 billion tons of greenhouse gas emissions in India if we would supply them with our clean Canadian natural gas rather than having them power their economy with coal. 2.5 billion tons is 3 times the emissions of all of Canada. It makes more sense to bring emissions down by bringing jobs home through technology and not taxes, and that's what I announced today.
En français.
Merci beaucoup.
That's pretty good, man. Technology, not taxes. I think people are going to get on board with lower taxes just across the board. I personally would really like to see Pierre just slash the GST, not on new homes, but just on everything, and reduce federal income tax on, people that make below a certain wage. I mean, it doesn't even have to be 150. It could be like under 80 or 100 grand or whatever. Like the fact that people are making $40,000 or $50,000 a year and they're being pretty heavily taxed, it's crazy, because life is just so freaking expensive. Life is so expensive, and people need help. They need lower taxes. You're not going to be able to manually reduce prices of blueberries and strawberries, right? But people need to eat that stuff. It's healthy. And the more expensive healthy food becomes, the less affordable it is, obviously, then the more people are going to gravitate towards crappy, cheap food, right? But even then, McDonald's is like super expensive. So now people are going even below McDonald's, like freaking ramen noodles or whatever, right? And they're just eating crap. And now we're going to be dealing with health problems and obesity in this country. And you need to find a way so that people can actually afford good and healthy food and get our country back on track to being in shape and healthy and affording life and not worrying about, can I afford to, go and make snack wraps for lunch this week, or am I eating ramen noodles? Because that's a shitty decision to have to make. Super shitty decision. That is the end of the press conference. I would love to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Do you think Pierre is finding his groove again, or do you think he's still a little bit off base? Personally, I would like to see just a little bit more from him, but maybe he's saving those tickets for the election campaign. So how this works, for those who don't know, because they've seen on Twitter or X, people are saying, are they still going to be debating in the House? No. When an election gets called, it's 36 to 50 days. That's how long the period is, right? The election is always going to be on a Monday. So you're kind of looking the end of April, the 28th of April, I think is a Monday, or the Monday following, or the Monday after that is kind of what we're looking at for the potential of this early election, because it's just going to look really weird if the Liberals go 7 more days, because the House of Commons, they're supposed to resume this time next week. It's going to look very weird if they let it go 7 more days, and all of a sudden now Mark Carney's sitting outside of the building and he's not participating in debates. It's so much ammunition for the Conservatives, and the Liberals are going to really they're going to go down in the polls because of it. It's not going to be good for them. So all roads, all signs, again, are kind of leaning towards this early election. And that's when I think you're going to start to see Pierre come out with some new things that we haven't seen before. I think he knows right now that the Liberals are taking all his ideas, and there's not much he can do about it, right? He can bitch and complain, going, oh, look, they're taking all my ideas, but that just looks a little distasteful again. So once the campaign starts, it's going to be, maybe he even has it ready to go. Maybe it's locked and loaded. Election campaign starts, we're going to remove federal income tax, or we're going to reduce it for anyone making under X amount of money per year, right? Or household income, whatever the case is. I think Pierre's got some tricks up his sleeves. At least I hope so, because it seems like it's a little bit of a tight race, and I don't think any of us want that. I think all of us watching these videos, coming back to this channel, even if you're a first-time viewer of this channel, you made it this far in the video, your algorithm's telling you something. Telling you, most likely, that Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party, that's who we need to help fix this country and get it back on track. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments about what I said and what about Pierre said. That's in the video, folks. If you enjoyed it, be sure to drop a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye for now.